Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer online action. Today we're looking at a replay between myself playing as the vampires and a beastmen player. Definitely wanted to show you guys this replay since I brought the Strigoi Ghoul King here. As you can see, we've got a ghoul-themed army with a front line of crypt ghouls here, one of them being the Regiment of Renowned Feasters in the Dusk. We've got skeleton spearmen on each flank, backed up by two crypt horrors, one blood knight in the rear for some elite anti-large support. We've also got the stripped down vampire Lore of Shadows here. She's got Immortal Will for some self-healing, the Dark Benediction for leadership support, Smoke and Mirrors for the map-wide speed buff. Lots of good stuff. She's a decent melee combatant in and of herself. 80 armor is decent with 40 defense and, 90 armor, 35 defense, 60 attack, 330 weapon strength. So very decent combatant overall. Help fight in the main line. Out on the flanks here, we've got the Devils of Schwarzhofen, which are another fun pick. These guys are not typically very often brought, but they can be useful. The Fear and Terror is, of course, very strong. These guys have really high weapon strength, of course, at 109. They've got relatively low armor and relatively low, very low armor actually at 10. Relatively low melee defense, but 51 attack. Lots of good stuff to like about them. Against the Beastmen, they could potentially be useful. We've also got two unit of hounds here, Dire Wolves and the Dire Pack, just in case of Ungor Raiders or Centaurs with throwing axes, which my opponent has brought a couple of. The Strigoi Ghoul King is carrying Invocation of Nehek. He's also got Spirit Leech and the Command of the Unliving, where he can summon Crypt Ghouls, or if you overcast, he can summon Crypt Horrors. Very good stuff. For my opponent's build, he's got a front line of Gore Herds, with the best Gore Herd on each flank, two units of Ungor Raiders, a Gorbel in the center with a Beast Lord as the general. He's on a chariot, no healing potion. The two Centaurs with throwing axes, of course, two units of Minded Hearts with great weapons, and that'll be about it. So let's go ahead and kick things off here. So I'm going to bring up my hounds here in front to try and kind of push these guys away. We're also just going to bring my infantry force forward. No reason to wait. Might as well just get this fight underway as quickly as possible. So Devils of Schwarzhofen are going to come down and they don't actually have a missile resistance, so they might have taken a bit of damage there, but no big deal. Going to pull away from the hounds, not wanting to blunder into the Gore Herds here. So you can see the Ungor Raiders trying to set up to fire at the Devils of Schwarzhofen, but I'm going to pull them back out of range, just kind of keep them in reserve. Same with these hounds. We're going to get the mainline engagement underway here between the Crypt Ghouls and the Gore Herds here. Very beautiful stuff. Probably be a very bloody battle. The Crypt Ghouls, let's go ahead and slow it down here while we take a look at them. They've got pretty garbage stats overall, as most vampire units do. That being said, 27 attack and 24 defense isn't terrible. 38 weapon strength is actually pretty good. Gore Herds themselves, they're being poisoned, but I think they have 34 base, so that's actually pretty decent for their class. Only 15 charge bonus isn't great, and 10 armor isn't great either. You can see they took a ton of shock damage on that charge there. But they'll do okay. The Feasters in the Dusk are a better unit, of course, because they're a Regiment of Renown. They have better combat stats, and definitely pretty good. The Poison will definitely help them trade more efficiently here. You can see this fight is relatively even between the two, but the Crypt Ghouls with their lower leadership, once they begin to crumble, they'll definitely lose. We're going to bring up these Crypt Horrors to get on this best Gore Herd here, and then bring in a rear charge from the Strigoi Ghoul King, and that'll be hopefully get rid of these best Gore Herd in a big hurry. They're taking a ton of armor-piercing shock damage there, and hopefully the Terror from the Strigoi Ghoul King will kick in. Terror is definitely rough for the Beastmen to deal with, and a lot of their units do have that baseline Frenzy mechanic where they're immune to psychology if their leadership's above 50%. But, if you can deal a lot of shock damage and get them, low in leadership, then once the Terror takes hold, it's all over. You can see a lot of this mainline fight already being broken here. This unit of Blood Knights charging into the Beast Lord here, pinning him down, doing a ton of anti-large shock damage, and he's in a bad place. Blood Knights will definitely be able to take him down in a big hurry. We've also got the Crypt Horrors now pushing through. Korok's Man-Rippers, as expected, cleaving through the ghouls, but they're just not really in the fight where they need to be. Probably want to try and countercharge them over onto these Blood Knights. Over here in the back, things are a little bit wild. These Ungor Raiders took a charge. Let's see, these Ungor Raiders took a charge from the Devils of Schwarzhofen and lost about half their HP in a single charge. This other unit got Terror routed off, and we're now going to be getting the Hounds on them. These Hounds are going to be very nice at chasing down all these routing units. I definitely want to make sure to stay on them and make sure these Gores and these Ungor Raiders don't come back, because they could potentially do a lot of damage at range. Unfortunately, these Centaurs with throwing axes have been kind of caught up on these skeleton spears. My opponent definitely wants to use their superior mobility to just cut up and around and get away from those spears. They're way out of position now, and he could easily just come back over to the battle and probably get some good damage done on either the Strigoi Ghoul King or another high-value target. But right now they're just kind of wasting their ammunition on this cheap unit. So the Minotaurs with great weapons as well being mismicroed. They weren't brought into the fight until just now, and they definitely needed to be in that mainline fight to help kill those crypt horrors. If they were timed properly with the infantry charge, it probably would have been a lot better, but you know, it's a rough matchup for sure. The terror of the vampires is tough for the beastmen to deal with in general. You can see here this we're going to pin these guys in with the crypt horrors and then get a nice rear charge with the Vargeis. And this is potentially one good use of Vargeis is you know, getting a rear charge onto another high value monstrous unit, just because they're high weapon strength. You can see the low armor of the Minotaurs. They took a ton of damage there, and they're going to continue to take damage, you know, and as they try and fight up against these two units. They're being poisoned, and as well the Devils of Schwarzhofen have really high weapon strength. They'll do a ton of damage in return here. But, you know, with the healing and everything, it's not a huge issue. This unit of ghouls being chopped up by these throwing axes. A little rough, but it's all good. We did finish off the Beast Lord here with the Blood Knights. Gorbel as well being taken down by the anti-large armor piercing of the Strigoi Ghoul King. Very, very good stuff. I believe we dropped a couple of Spirit Leeches on him as well. This Vampire Lady Lore of Shadow still very healthy, being chased around by these Minotaurs with great weapons. Probably not great. This unit of Dire Pack here just kind of hanging out. Not being microed appropriately, but definitely want to try and get them on these Minotaurs with great weapons. They're going to get countercharged by the Koroks Man Rippers and probably destroyed, but no big deal. Look, bounce power is pretty far in my favor at this point. It's going to be hard for the Beastmen to come back from this, so yeah, we'll go ahead and get some cinematic action here of these Koroks Man Rippers fighting up against the Dire Pack here, and of course the Minotaurs with great weapons doing quite a bit of damage to these Hounds. Hounds are not liking that one bit, but here come the Devils of Schwarzhofen in for another charge. Very, very good stuff. And the Blood Knights coming from behind. This is going to be the end of the Minotaurs now, very, very fast. And yeah, taking a ton of shock damage from those two charges, and they're pretty much done. That will just about be game. Now it's just the Koroks Man Rippers here fighting. Strigoi Ghoul King probably doesn't want to stay here too long with the anti-large armor piercing, but at this point the battle is fairly well won, and we can bring this big kind of goon squad into a rear charge here, bringing in the Crypt Horrors to support, and at that, the Koroks Man Rippers get terrified and shatter. So, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that. Definitely a fun battle. Fun kind of ghoul-themed build. Hope you guys enjoyed that. For my opponent, the Beastmen versus Vampires matchup is pretty tough. I probably would have made some army composition changes. Of course, he did mismicro those Minotaurs, and that was pretty rough. But just in terms of army composition, I'd probably cut the Minotaurs just because these guys are expensive and they have relatively low armor, so it's really hard to make them pay off. If you get the Centaurs with great weapons, they have a lot more mobility and can potentially be in the right place at the right time a lot faster. So personally, I like Centaurs with great weapons a lot more. In this matchup as well, Giant could potentially be very good. They're only, 100 to 200 gold more expensive than Minotaurs with great weapons. So if he was able to cut some things down and maybe find some funds somewhere, he could cut one of these guys and upgrade it to a Giant. That would be very, very nice. As well, I think Morgar's a better pick in this matchup. The Beast Lord on the Chariot can be good, especially with the potion and all his goodies, but Morgar has the regeneration. Vampires lack fire damage, so they can't put him down really, really fast. The Chaos Spawn summons as well are very powerful against the vampires. Because of the way the crumbling mechanic works, their units won't rout, and even if their leadership is broken and they're crumbling, they can still be healed. So if you have a unit that's low and you hit them with that Spirit Essence of Chaos and just, you know, force them off the battlefield and replace them with Chaos Spawn, it's going to be very important, because then your opponent can't heal them, and, you know, you could potentially take out a very high value unit that your opponent could still get value out of. So personally, I like Morgar a lot better in this matchup. The Beast Lord can be good, but here I'd probably take Morgar. This Best Score Herd probably could be cut as well, and just have the one Koroks Man Rippers in the back to defend against like Blood Knights and such. You don't really need a ton of AP typically against the vampires. Graveguard are a concern, but then again, if you brought Centaurs with great weapons and you have these throwing axes as well to do armor piercing, You don't necessarily need to bring an AP front line. You could probably go a bit cheaper and wider. But, you know, just some thoughts on building the Beastmen to face the vampires. For my ghoul build, the Crypt Ghouls did okay in some pockets. Pretty much got crushed, though, in the front line. The Blood Knight's doing very well, taking out that Chariot General. Devils of Schwarzhafen, getting some nice rear charges on those Minotaurs. Very nice. Strigoi Ghoul King as well with the Spirit Leech, and, of course, the Terror from his Terrorgeist, being very strong. So hope you guys enjoyed watching that. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer content every single day. We're a week out from Total War Warhammer 2, so get excited. I know I sure am. So we'll see you next time. And yeah, see you next time.